Sustainable fashion has a problem, and it's not fast fashion, it's us. The thing is, people want to do better, but they're afraid of doing it wrong. You've probably heard things like thrifting is the only ethical option. If you buy anything new, you're part of the problem. And yeah, but Patagonia uses recycled polyester. And here's the thing, if sustainability feels like a purity test, most people will opt out. And that's a disaster for the sustainable fashion movement. Hi, I'm Garrick, the founder of Eco-Stylist, and the topic of today's video is eco-perfectionism is hurting the sustainability movement. Here's why. In today's video, we're going to talk about what is eco-perfectionism, exactly how and why it harms the sustainable fashion movement, and then we're going to talk about ways that we can do better as a community to combat eco-perfectionism and to help grow the sustainable fashion movement for everyone. So right off the bat, what is eco-perfectionism? So eco-perfectionism is the belief that there is one correct way to be sustainable. Anything less than that one way is failure. And people who don't meet that standard deserve criticism, not support. You've probably seen examples of this. One place where you're likely to see a lot of eco-perfectionism is going to be places like the sustainable fashion or the ethical fashion subreddits on Reddit. A great example of eco-perfectionism is like somebody might post on one of these subreddits that are looking to buy a new sweater soon and they want to buy it from a sustainable brand. And instead of helping that person, find what they're looking for, people will come into the comments and say, you know what, thrifting is the only sustainable solution. You should thrift that sweater and there's no other way to do it. Or they'll come on there and say things like, you know what, you shouldn't buy anything at all. The only way to be sustainable is to not buy anything new, thrifted or otherwise. And so don't do anything else. These are both examples of eco-perfectionism, and you can see how they don't help anybody. Obviously, sustainable fashion is a spectrum of better choices, right? From thrifting to shopping sustainable brands, to shopping your closet, to repairing things you already have, to swapping, etc., etc., etc. But when we only put forth the solutions that we like, and we don't think about like other people and their circumstances, we don't help to grow the community. We're only acting to make it smaller. Some important things to note is that eco-perfectionism is not high standards. It's about rigidity, not values. Instead of looking at the good in all solutions and promoting a spectrum of better choices, eco-perfectionism is about promoting the sustainable choice that's your favorite and not caring about like where other people are, meeting them halfway, or trying to understand anything about their circumstances. Now, to clarify one point, I'm not saying that debate is bad. Debate is actually good, right? It's how communities learn and grow. But eco-perfectionism is not debate. Debate should be constructive. But eco-perfectionism looks like infighting and not supporting other members of your own community. It makes the movement look weak, and the confusion prevents growth. Imagine somebody new is interested in sustainable fashion and they're just getting started. They go to one of these subreddits and they see that even the experts and the veterans can't agree on basic, simple solutions. As a newbie who's looking for simple answers and simple solutions, this type of confusion is only going to discourage them. And they're going to think, if these people don't even know what to do, how am I supposed to know what to do? When sustainability becomes about moral purity, it stops being accessible. Hey, are you enjoying this video? Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot, and it really helps us grow. All right, so now let's talk more about how eco-perfectionism pushes people away. So like I mentioned before, since the movement is growing, we need to remember that most people are going to be beginners. Most people are just getting started, and they already feel overwhelmed. Perfectionism makes them feel things like, I'll never be good enough, and why even try? And the end result of that is somebody who was sustainable fashion curious, now they do nothing. Also, like I mentioned before, eco-perfectionism creates infighting, not progress. Examples would be thrifting versus sustainable fashion, buy less versus buy better, a small sustainable fashion brand versus a big sustainable fashion brand. These are complementary solutions, not competing teams. So for example, let's take out the versus and swap it with and. Thrifting and sustainable brands. Buy less and buy better. Small sustainable brands and large sustainable brands. The point is, a movement that fights itself can't take on fast fashion. And that's the thing that really gets lost with eco-perfectionism. We forget that in the sustainable fashion movement, we have a common enemy, and that is the trillion-dollar fast fashion industry. The sustainable fashion movement is growing, but it needs to grow a lot more if we're going to take on and beat fast fashion. And this is exactly the problem with eco-perfectionism. While we're busy fighting ourselves, we're just making the community weaker, not stronger. And to take on the behemoth that is fast fashion, we need to be a strong community. Basically, eco-perfectionism shrinks the movement instead of growing it. Fast fashion thrives when sustainability stays niche, and corporations love when we gatekeep, because for them, it means fewer people demanding change and less pressure on the system. Okay, so we know that eco-perfectionism doesn't help with our common goal to defeat fast fashion. But let's talk more about that opportunity that we're missing out on. Because remember, as we want to grow the sustainable fashion community, we need participation, not perfection. Put another way, if we want to defeat fast fashion, we don't need 100 people doing sustainable fashion perfectly. We need millions of people doing sustainable fashion imperfectly. Systems don't change when a few people do something perfect in a niche community. Systems change when norms change. And norms change when behaviors become mainstream. Sustainable fashion doesn't win by being flawless. It wins by becoming what's normal. Okay, so now that we know we need to move past eco-perfectionism in order to grow the sustainable fashion movement, how do we do that? Well, first off, we need to stop evangelizing one quote unquote right solution, because one right solution doesn't exist. Like I mentioned, sustainable fashion is a spectrum of better choices, and we need to meet people where they're at. We need to consider people's circumstances and how one solution might be better for you, but another solution might be better for somebody else. Also, who says we all need to be doing just one solution? For example, I'm the founder of Eco-Stylist, right? Which is a website that's specifically focused on the solution of when you want to buy new, how do you do so sustainably? And I chose to focus on that problem because within that space, it's like there's a lot of greenwashing. How do you tell which brands are actually sustainable, right? So we needed to dedicate all of our energy and time on that one solution, on helping people find the best sustainable and ethical brands that they can support. But just because I'm the founder of Eco-Stylist doesn't mean I'm always saying that shopping new sustainable brands is the best thing. It's not even the only thing that I do myself, right? Like as an individual, I thrift, I shop new sustainable brands, I swap, I partake in a spectrum of solutions because sustainable fashion is not just one thing. It's a variety of better choices that we can all make. So instead of saying buying nothing is the best or thrifting is the best, we can say thrifting is great. Shopping new sustainable fashion brands is great. Repair, resale, renting, buying less, swapping, all great. Different people, different constraints, different paths. So let's uplift all the different solutions as part of a whole. Think ecosystem, not hierarchy. Instead of always focusing on what the best solution is or what the perfect solution is, just help people make better choices in this spectrum of all great and better choices. Progress stacks. It doesn't cancel out. Next, support people where they are. Instead of interrogating every purchase, celebrate steps forward. Don't turn sustainability into a test for people to fail. Instead, ask, is this better than before? Is this moving the needle? So let's trade that perfection for progress. Don't try to be perfect. Try to be better and bring people with you. Progress compounds, but shame doesn't. So to reinforce, unity beats purity. Fast fashion is massive, and it won't be defeated by purity politics. It will be defeated by collective demand, scale, and culture shift. The key point here is that a divided sustainable fashion community is the biggest ally of fast fashion. And if we really want to move the needle and change fashion for good, we need to unite as a sustainable fashion community so that we can grow and make sustainable fashion the norm. Now, before we come to the final part of this video, I promised you all that I'd circle back and talk about recycled synthetics, Patagonia, and microplastics. So the reason I bring this up is that it's one of the latest versions of eco-perfectionism that I've seen. And to be clear, the reasons that it's coming up are completely valid, right? With new research regarding microplastics, people are especially concerned, and a lot of people don't want to wear synthetics, which I agree with, but also people are coming really hard on recycled synthetics as well, because they also produce microplastics, and that's also valid and true. But the reason this hits on eco-perfectionism is that a lot of this research is very new. There are sustainable fashion brands that have been using recycled synthetics, such as recycled polyester, for a long time, before this new research on microplastics came out. And so while people are right to be concerned, it's not fair to hate on these brands and accuse them of greenwashing and things like that, when if you look back historically, using recycled synthetics made a lot of sense. And so what do I mean? Well, if we look at the fashion industry overall, especially because of fast fashion, we're currently at a point where 60% of new clothes are made from virgin synthetic materials. So I'm not even talking about like recycled polyester. I'm just talking about new polyester, which is worse for the environment. It's a fossil fuel derived fabric, and 60% of new clothes are made this way. And that number is only increasing. It's projected to hit 70% in the coming years. So when you take into account this reality, the fact that brands have been using materials like recycled polyester, brands like Patagonia, it actually makes a lot of sense, right? It has a better environmental impact than virgin synthetics. Also, brands like Patagonia historically use synthetics for their performance apparel, and so swapping that with recycled synthetics also made a lot of sense. So rather than hating on those brands and accusing them of greenwashing and things like that, just for trying to do better with the information that they had, instead we can hold them to a new standard, right? We can tell the brands that we're concerned. We can ask them to use more natural materials like hemp and organic cotton, but we don't need to cancel those brands in order to do so. And the reason I bring up Patagonia specifically is this is a brand I've seen receive a lot of eco-perfectionism. For example, I've heard people say Patagonia isn't a great brand because they use recycled synthetics or because they're a large brand. And I would argue that nothing could be further from the truth. At Eco-Stylist, we research brands for ethics and sustainability using a very thorough, intense criteria that most brands fail. We research brands for transparency, fair labor, and sustainability. And Patagonia, even as a large brand, is actually one of our gold rated brands, which is our highest rating on our platform. So again, while they may be the largest brand to have received such a rating from us, it doesn't mean that we should criticize them or write them off or cancel them just for being a large brand when they're doing a lot of good. I mean, apart from all the other things that Patagonia does, you may have heard that they made the decision to donate all of their profits to environmental nonprofits. And they're the only brand to ever do that. Large or not, Patagonia is a leader in the space. And back to Patagonia's use of recycled synthetics like recycled polyester, like I mentioned, while it's fair and right to be concerned about microplastics, it's not fair to cancel Patagonia for this. I already mentioned historically the reasons that they were using recycled synthetics and the reasons that that was a better choice. It's okay to hold them to a new standard given new information, but we don't need to do so with this lens of eco-perfectionism. So thinking about eco-perfectionism, remember that sustainability isn't about being perfect. It's about making better and more sustainable choices easier and more common. Sustainability is not a competition. It's a collective effort, and we need to grow the community. So here's some calls to action. Do one thing better this month. Then support somebody else who's doing the same. And finally, stop letting perfection get in the way of progress. Because change doesn't come with a few people doing sustainable fashion perfectly. It comes with millions of people partaking in sustainable fashion and making better choices in their everyday lives. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, dress like you give a damn.